Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. As you guys see by the title, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to be giving you guys my 5 Minnesota Vikings players who I think are the X factors heading into this season. First off, thank you guys for the support on the channel. I really appreciate it. It has been doing incredible lately. I love responding to you guys in the comments. So if you guys agree with me, disagree with me, let me know down below. Best way for us to interact. I love hearing from you guys. Anyways, in this video, 5 Minnesota Vikings players who are going to be X factors in this next upcoming season. And I'm going to try to steer away from Kirk Cousins and kind of big guys. These are the X factors. These are guys who, if they play out of their mind, the Vikings have a really good chance of being really good this year. I cannot wait for the season to start. I'm sure you guys cannot wait either. Anyways, we're going to get into top 5 Minnesota Vikings players who are the biggest X factors right now. All right, so number 1 on my list is our center, Garrett Bradbury. He was taken the first round 3 years ago. He's going into his 3rd year in this upcoming season. And the story with Garrett Bradbury is the inconsistency. It is the up and down play from him. You know, some games I'll look at the film and I'm like, damn, Garrett Bradbury, he ranks 1 on PFF for the week. Dominated the run game, dominated the pass game. He looks great. And then there are other weeks where I look at him and I'm like, he looks like a high school offensive lineman out there. He looks small. He doesn't look like he is as mobile as he was in past weeks. So there's a lot of really good with Bradbury, and there's also a lot of really bad. However, I think the really bad with Bradbury, and maybe this is just me being optimistic, but the guards around Bradbury, they matter, especially for him. Smaller centers like Jason Kelce on the Eagles, he says this all the time. The guards next to you, they matter for a center. So I'm hoping better guard play. Wyatt Davis steps in. Ezra Cleveland is 2nd year. I think our guards are going to be solid this year. And this is a prove-it year for Bradbury. But if he has a good year, the Vikings offensive line, he could really be the glue for the offensive line and hold it together. I just think Bradbury is a huge X factor. My second guy is actually the guy we just picked up in free agency from the Kansas City Chiefs, and that is Bashaud Breeland. Now, I think he's a huge X factor because of the potential he has. You know, if you look at the corners on our roster, he might have the most talent right now. Obviously, Pat Pete, you know, however washed he may be, I don't like saying washed. I just think he's lost a slight step. Still cerebrally, or using his mind, you know what I'm talking about. Patrick Peterson is a dog. He is still very talented. However, I think Bashaud Breeland, with his age and kind of him entering the peak of his career, he could really be a top 15 corner in the NFL this next season for the Vikings. I think he's a huge X factor for the Vikings. I also think Cameron Dantzler, he could be too, but I just think Bashaud Breeland, he's got a better chance to dominate next year in comparison to Cameron Dantzler. And listen, Bashaud Breeland was in Kansas City. He's not really playing with a ton of defensive talent around him. I don't think we really know his full potential. Also, Mike Zimmer, probably one of the best DB coaches of all time, he can get him under his wing and teach him too. He's got a ton of talent. I love what he brings. He brings a positive energy. He wanted to get out of Kansas City because he wanted more. Here's his more. Here's his chance. I think Bashaud Breeland is a actual X factor for the Vikings this upcoming season, and he could really dominate. He could really be something special back there where we could say, like, hey, you go take him, and I'm like, all right, I like the matchup. Obviously, the Vikings don't obviously have a Jair Alexander or a true lockdown corner on their roster, but if Bashaud Breeland could be a really solid corner mixed in with Dantzler, a really solid corner, Patrick Peterson obviously still being a really solid corner, we could roll out 3 corners where I'm thinking this is a really good secondary. Bashaud Breeland, I think he has a chance to be top dog in the cornerback locker room this year if he plays to his potential. He's an X factor. All right, my 3rd X factor is my man, Chad Beebe. I've had an up and down relationship with Chad Beebe, and as Vikings fans, you guys probably have too. We've been always hearing about this hype around Chad Beebe, but then he got hurt, and then if you guys remember the muff punt last year in that huge Carolina game, and then he saved it all with the game-winning touchdown. Chad Beebe, I'm starting to really like him. Listen, I think he could be an X factor because if you look at Kirk Cousins, listen, Justin Jefferson and Thielen, they're going to get a lot of the attention. But when it comes to like the 3rd and 5s, 3rd and 6s, and we've seen this in past years, especially last year, Kirk likes to hit a check down, and not in a check down in a sense because he doesn't have anything else open, but if he's got pressure in his face and he sees Chad Beebe running a drag route and maybe he's 2 yards before the first down marker, I'm pretty sure Kirk can believe in Chad Beebe to go get those yards. And it's kind of like the Danny Amendola, the Julian Edelman role that they played for Brady. You know, these not mobile quarterbacks, but they can really run routes really crisp. And if the most attention's going to Thielen and Jefferson and BB gets matched up with a linebacker, if they're running a zone or something, it's over. He's just too fast. I think Chad Beebe could be a serious X factor for the Vikes, especially on third downs. I think if he has a good year where he's getting like 400, 500 yards as our wide receiver 3, maybe a couple big-time touchdowns, it could be something really special for us. Just keep your eyes on Chad Beebe because I think he could be seriously going into that Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola role. And that wide receiver from Iowa, people are saying he most likely, or not most likely, he could be the wide receiver 3. I could see that maybe later on in the year. I think they'll maybe use him more as a gadget guy, a burner over the top. But I think Chad Beebe is a wide receiver 3 right now. Clearly, I think it's his kind of job to lose, mainly because of how efficient he's been on third downs in years past. He's an X factor. All right, so I have 2 X factors, or I guess I'll throw 3. I got 3 X factors, and that's Michael Pierce, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Sheldon Richardson. Listen, the talent out of those 3 nose tackles is unreal. We have Andre Patterson. We got guys like Paul Allen, comparing it to Kevin Williams and Pat Williams, those monsters we had back in, I can't think of the year, but they were there for a while. They dominated the interior of the defensive line for the Vikings for a while. And you look at Michael Pierce, they're big dudes, they're strong dudes, they like to get after it. Listen, they're going to be X factors this year. If they play really well, that will open up stuff for Eric Kendricks, Danielle Hunter. If you could let Danielle get one-on-ones consistently, and that's Michael Pierce's job. Michael Pierce and Dalvin Tomlinson, their job is to eat double teams, and then if they do get a one-on-one opportunity because they are focusing on Danielle, they adjust and they make moves. Dalvin Tomlinson, he's a very underrated pass rusher, and I think he's going to be very effective this year. Michael Pierce, on the other hand, he's a run stuffer. He will actually help. Michael Pierce, if he is successful, you may not notice it in his stat line, but guess whose stat line you will notice it? Is when Eric Kendricks has 120 tackles. That's when you'll notice it. When Eric Kendricks could lead the league in tackles and be an all-pro like he was that one year when Linval had a pretty solid year, but still Linval was even on the way out. And if we could get a Michael Pierce who was in his prime with coming off a year off, it could be special. I think those dudes in the middle, they could be huge for this defense. It will just open stuff up for Danielle and Eric Kendricks and kind of make them the stars. You know, it's tough because I always say this, the offensive line, they make the running back. The defensive line, people don't like to think about it, they make the linebackers. That's why Eric Kendricks, he didn't get a Pro Bowl or All-Pro kind of nomination. He didn't really get that recognition that I think he obviously deserves. That was because the D-line was terrible, and that's just the truth. So I think the D-line, they are huge X factors in this upcoming season. So my final X factor, you don't know how bad I want to say Kirk Cousins, Mike Zimmer. I mean, obviously they're the 2 biggest reasons for the Vikings' success this year. However, an X factor, I am going to have to go with Xavier Woods. Listen, I know he's the second safety next to Harrison Smith. This is such an important position in Mike Zimmer's defense. The reason Zendejo was able to stay around with the Vikings more than people would like is because he knew it. He knew how to run that safety next to Smith. He was a ball hawk. And just like that one year with Anthony Harris, he was a ball hawk that year. You just need to play your role and take advantage of opportunities that come and play aggressive. We saw last year with Anthony Harris, the downside of him, he's not playing aggressive. He's not really going all out. That's the thing that sucks. So I think Xavier Woods, I think he could be a serious X factor this upcoming year, mainly because I think he's going to have a chance to get a lot of interceptions. And I think interceptions are clearly interceptions are an opportunistic stat, but I think he has a really good chance of kind of capitalizing on that because he's going to have a lot of talent around him. So it's going to come down to he needs to go get the ball. He needs to be the ball hawk and make those plays because that'll be huge for the offense. Because honestly, guys are going to be scared to test Harrison Smith, Patrick Peterson, Brashad Breeland after a while. He could step up, tip passes. Remember Anthony Harris? He was always good at that one year. I think he could be an X factor. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Those are my 5 Minnesota Vikings players who I think are going to be X factors in this upcoming year. Like down below, comment down below. You guys know what to do. I love responding to you guys. Skol Vikes. Can't wait for the season to get started.